Notting Hill Carnival is a lovely family-friendly event that occurs once a year. The event is extremely civilised with absolutely zero violence. In all seriousness, in the 1950s, race riots swept the streets of London. These race riots culminated in the murder of 32-year-old Kelso Coltrane on May 17, 1959. She died after a racially motivated attack on Southam Street in Notting Hill. As a response to this, 7 years later, community activists Ron Laslett and Andre Shervington organised the first ever Notting Hill Carnival as a way to celebrate the cultural diversity of that area and to bring people together. But what better way is there than to show off your culture by stabbing each other with machetes, twerking on police officers, sexually assaulting each other, or forcing your local shops to protect themselves with boards in preparation for any potential looting? According to the Met Police in 2023, there was a grand total of 308 arrests. Here are some of the notable statistics. 10 stabbings, 57 assaults against police officers, 2 robberies, 3 thefts with a weapon, 3 muggings, 20 sexual offences, 9 counts of grievous bodily harm, 71 offensive weapons and 9 common assaults. In 2024, the total number of arrests has actually increased. It is now at 349. Here are some statistics from that event. 3 firearms seized, 8 stabbings, 67 possessions of an offensive weapon, 12 sexual offences, 15 other forms of violence, 2 vehicle crimes, 3 other forms of theft, 47 assaults of an emergency worker, 9 violence with injury, 3 muggings, 4 robberies and 6 common assaults. One of those stabbings was of a 32-year-old mother who was at the event with her child. The 3 men involved have been arrested and they are being charged. But unfortunately, as of the 31st of August, at least 1 week after the event, she passed away in hospital. It was only a month ago when the Southport riots ripped through Hartlepool, Sunderland, Southport and many other places. While despicable, and they never should have happened, one can understand the frustration and anger people have of being ignored, censored on social media platforms, imprisoned for their beliefs and silenced while terror attacks increase at an alarming rate. When these riots happened, Starmer held a press conference where he condemned the imaginary far right, promising to keep the Muslim community safe, increasing police powers and boosting a wider deployment of facial recognition technology. But how do you think he responded to this? Did he condemn the violence at Notting Hill Carnival? Did he boast about plans to tackle knife crime ripping through the streets of England? Or did he promise to keep the innocent people of Britain safe from these thugs roaming the streets looking for trouble?
We've also seen shocking scenes across the nation. A mindless minority of thugs who thought that they could get away with causing chaos, smashing up communities and terrifying minorities, shouting racist slurs on our streets, Nazi salutes at the cenotaph. The cenotaph, the very place we honour those who gave their lives for this country under the pretence of legitimate protest.
No, he just roamed on about Nazis in the imaginary far right. He also mentions that these rioters from Southport, Sunderland and Hartlepool didn't just know the system was broken, they were betting on it.
But these riots didn't happen in a vacuum. They exposed the state of our country, revealed a deeply unhealthy society, the cracks in our foundations laid bare. And those people throwing rocks, torching cars, making threats, they didn't just know the system was broken. They were betting on it, gaming it.
Isn't this exactly what the grooming gangs in Rochdale, Rotherham and Telford relied on when preying on young children? In the book Unthinkable, written by social care worker Chris Hollington, the horrifying method these men used to groom their victims is laid bare. But what's even more disturbing is how their actions are completely enabled by a broken social care and judicial system. Yet not once has Starmer addressed how he plans to tackle this pervasive issue of men utilising and taking advantage of a broken system to groom and young girls. Maybe he should focus on fixing that system. You also have this issue with thefts. For example, over half of all phone thefts aren't investigated by police. In 2023, the police failed to attend 70% of car thefts, and in the past 3 years, police have failed to solve a single burglary in nearly half of all neighbourhoods in England and Wales. With such a broken system of police arresting people from things they've said on social media, to distasteful anti-Islam chants, to even praying outside an abortion clinic, their lack of action on a majority of theft cases allows criminals to act even more brazen, even to the point that criminals are now using a multitude of tactics to blatantly steal someone's phone in broad daylight. Instead of targeting people even harder for misusing a broken system, how about you fix that broken system? After Notting Hill Carnival, Mayor of London Sadiq Khan posted a tweet with the caption, "Fantastic scenes at Notting Hill Carnival today, celebrating London's Caribbean communities." This is the same man who tweeted on August 8th, To those who came out peacefully to show London stands united against racism and Islamophobia last night, thank you. And to those far-right thugs still intent on sowing hatred and division, you will never be welcome here. This is in reference to the Enough is Enough riots the media told people would be happening up and down the country on August 7th. Turns out these riots and protests were fake and no one actually planned on attending them. The media just wanted to stir up some more trouble and division. But they still saw large counter-protests, and he was actually at one of these counter-demonstrations where Labour councillor Ricky Jones called for the throats of fascists and Nazis to be slit.
They are disgusting, nasty bastards, and we need to cull their throats and get rid of them all!
He was subsequently arrested and charged for inciting hatred. But it's just the right wing that are divisive. In reference to these fictitious lies spurred by the mainstream media, the Metropolitan Police Commissioner, Sir Mark Rowley, put out a statement. To anyone thinking about joining future violent actions, you will be captured on camera, you will be arrested, and you will end up in prison. The video that was attached to the statement signified that this was aimed at the imaginary far right. The Metropolitan Police also published a statement saying the following. This was supposed to be a family day, a celebration suitable for all ages. But one of those in the group, a 32-year-old woman whose condition remains critical, was at the carnival with a young child. Now this is another clear example of two-tier policing. I think everything that we've shown you to do with the Metropolitan Police and their handling of Notting Hill Carnival is an example of two-tier policing when applied to the right. However, firstly, before we go for another statement that proves two-tier policing, is an event that people celebrate by twerking and humping each other truly an event for children? No, the answer is no. Another statement of police that we're going to go through was posted at 9 PM on the first day of Notting Hill Carnival. And it referred to the event as a fantastic celebration and emphasising their regret that a small minority came to commit crime and engage in violence. This is in stark contrast to how they responded when people gathered to protect the cenotaph on Armistice Day and also to support our fallen troops, stating, "The extreme violence from the right-wing protesters towards the police today was extraordinary and deeply concerning." After the event on Armistice Day, I was at a pub in the beer garden on Parliament Square when we were kettled by police for absolutely zero reason. Sure, there was a minuscule amount of violence when the police blocked people from being able to watch the procession, but there were no stabbings, there were no muggings, there were no fighting really. There was just a few scuffles with police, that was it. So why did the Assistant Commissioner, the Police Commissioner, or the actual police force not put out a statement calling that a fantastic celebration? They called Notting Hill Carnival a fantastic celebration when there was 8 stabbings, a bunch of muggings, a bunch of sexual assault, tons of drug offences, tons of weapons seized, 3 guns seized. It's because two-tier policing does in fact exist. Now earlier I mentioned that there was a video that went along with Sir Mark Rowley's statement, and I held off on playing that until now, and the reason is because there's a little bit I want to talk about before we end the video, and it kind of ties in with that. So just watch this video. It's about it was basically made on August 8th after the non-existent riots happened the day before.
Last week we saw very violent scenes of disorder in central London. Over the last week we've been analysing thousands of pieces of body-worn video footage and CCTV to build the evidence packages. This morning I've enjoyed being out on a dawn raid with some of our officers. About 70% of the ones we're sweeping up have got criminal records, they've got backgrounds with criminal damage, weapons offences. They're not patriots, they're not protesters, they're criminals. To anybody thinking about joining future violent actions, you will be captured on camera, you will be arrested, and you will end up in prison.
While anyone engaged in violent disorder deserves to be arrested, especially when some of them set buildings on fire and threw bricks at innocent cars, why wasn't the same energy applied to Notting Hill Carnival when many people were stabbed, mugged, beaten up, sexually assaulted? That same behaviour is applied by the police to the AfD in Germany, and anyone who's watching what's going on at the moment in Germany is seeing that the AfD is winning quite a few seats. And the AfD has had, a higher share of hardship than any other political group / organisation in Germany. In 2019, the Federal Office for the Protection of the Constitution classified the AfD youth wing and parts of the party as a suspected case of right-wing extremism. This classification was used as a pretense to put the youth wing under intense monitoring and surveillance, even to the point where they were wiretapping their members' phones. In 2021, the surveillance was extended to cover the entire party. Their entire basis for this, you may ask? Well, it wasn't because they received an anonymous tip of their intents and plans to commit a terror attack. It was because they had extreme views on certain topics, such as describing illegal immigrants as a threat, referring to certain foreign criminals as rapists, refugees and knife migrants, and spewing anti-Islam rhetoric such as Islam does not belong to Germany and labelling it as a religion of conquest. It was only a few months ago when anti-Islam activist Michael Sturzenberger was stabbed, with a few people being killed in Mannheim, Germany by a 25-year-old Afghan man who had only lived in the country since 2014. Considering there's a stabbing every other week in Germany, usually committed by an Islamist, I think that to hold those views is quite reasonable. For example, there was literally a stabbing last week in Solingen at a music festival to which the Islamic State have claimed responsibility for. Talking about it is what has enabled the local authorities to smear the AfD and put them under intense surveillance with no crime being committed. Their only crime was the crime of engaging in dialogue, which contravenes the official narrative and the status quo. Especially recently, we've seen a lot of people arrested for talking out against Islam and immigration. But they're not the only people who get arrested. People also get arrested if they set pride flags on fire in their own backyard. People get arrested for retweeting videos of that, such as Daz Brady. People also get arrested for misgendering students. And there are many other people who've been arrested for talking out against the state. So thank you very much for watching. It's been James Harvey from Vox Populi, and I'll speak to you soon. Cheers.